I don't wanna talk, I just wanna count my bands. Kicking doors down while I'm chilling in my vans. Shawty said she need me, said she wanna make amends. Kick her out the door, now I'm talking to a friend.
It's being used so broadly that there's no real actual concept of toxic masculinity, and it makes it really hard to talk about it and actually describe the main issues with toxic masculinity.
Okay, so do you think there are real facets of toxic masculinity, but people just use it incorrectly, or do you just not think it's a concept?
So I feel like it isn't a concept currently, just because it's way too broadly used, and the way that it's too broadly used is like, hey, that dude slapped that girl's ass, that's toxic masculinity. I'll be like, yeah, I can see that, I can understand that. And then there'll be another dude who drops that's the FGG bomb on somebody, but they're like joking around and they're playing around with their friends, and like maybe like a girl does it in their friend group as well too, and they call it toxic masculinity. And that's like really vague, and like it doesn't really have a solidified form.
So I think both of those could be examples of what toxic masculinity actually is, as far as a conceptual thing that people actually discuss. It just depends, right? Like, so my friend group, we don't like to say any slurs around people. As far as like the FGG slur you mentioned, because I have lots of gay friends and they just don't like it. But you know, I haven't gotten the F card. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but that's not necessarily toxic masculinity. The way it's couched depends on it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use the word gay instead of it.
Yeah, that's
makes
right.
more sense. So if I call you gay, right?
Yeah.
If I'm like, man, you're gay or whatever, it could just be homophobic. That's absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be toxic masculinity to be homophobic. But if someone, if it's implying like what are you like gay that in a way that would also mean like feminine, and for it to be a negative thing. So I guarantee you've experienced toxic masculinity. I assume you've identified as a guy like your whole life.
Yeah, I'm a veteran, so I understand like what you mean, like for
yeah. So like, what are you, a fucking pussy or something like that, or like I use this example a lot because it's for some reason it's a flashbulb moment in my life. I was playing video games with my dad once when I was really young, like Nintendo young.
Yeah.
And I picked a girl character, and he like flipped out. Yeah, right. That's stupid, right? But that's toxic masculinity. That's the shit. So now it's not toxic masculinity if I'm just an asshole, right?
Yeah.
It depends. So it is a real thing that real people talk about, but it's not like it could totally be misused by people. But as far as the people that I was discussing it with on the internet today on Twitter. I use discussing very, very lightly.
I tried to find the original thread because like people were like, man, you should debate them because it would be good for the podcast, man. You gotta go in there and hashtag wreck him. And I'm like,
I don't think you're gonna wreck me. I don't think there's anything to wreck me on, right?
Well, I got here and I was just like, okay, well, he's way more sensible than I thought he would be. This is awkward now.
Yup. Because those people are reactionaries and you shouldn't like them.
Yeah, but for me mainly, I think the main issue for when it's actually used is like situations where we're talking about like movies and video games where things are like culturally different. I don't know like the smug cube guy that you were arguing with the toxic masculinity about him. I heard that like they said it was about anime or something like that. So I'm just
don't know. That guy was just okay. So my girlfriend was arguing with these. She's also a streamer and like an internet person, so she has a little bit of following. I just happen to have more of a following, right?
Yeah.
So she's been arguing with these people all day. We went to lunch and came back, and she was still fucking arguing with these people. So, it's been like 6 to 7. At this point, it's been 8 hours roughly that she's been arguing with these people, and not just. I mean, they've all been arguing. And so I went to those people that have been in the thread a long time and offered them to talk about it because, of course, they seem like they're willing to invest 8 fucking hours on this thing. Surely they can talk about it, but you know what happens when I do that?
They decline. I mean, I could understand.
They don't just decline; they fucking block me and hide, dude. I'm asking nice too. So I asked that guy nice, and he got real upset.
Yeah, so for me personally, like, I don't know, I like to argue. I can get in there and be like let's discuss race realism. My existence disproves your entire argument, sir. How do you proceed?
Right. Well, yeah, race realists are idiots. Like this is just like the thing. Yeah. So yeah, I just and I don't know. Apparently, if I spend any effort on them whatsoever by tweeting them, it's my obsession with them. But really, I just like to talk to people. I don't know. You don't seem to have a very big following. Apparently, you do a podcast. At least not this Twitter account.
Right now we have like 150 subs. We
man,
average about 500 views per episode on YouTube.
Hey, not bad, not bad. Everyone starts somewhere. I don't know if we agree or disagree, but the grind is the same for everybody on social media and stuff like this. So
for most people, they would consider me centrist, but I'm mostly left-leaning.
I mean, if you're centrist on anything, I could probably convince you otherwise. But other than that, yeah, you sound reasonable. And this guy wasn't in the threads that any of them were. But yeah, I mean, these people are not very reasonable. They just start like screeching at me.
Yeah. So one thing I think we might disagree on for the toxic masculinity thing would be. So for like anime and stuff like that, I feel like what people perceive as toxic masculinity in like anime and some like Japanese video games and stuff like that is a what
do you mean like when the titties are out and shit?
Yeah, I feel like it's a difference in culture. Like I'm not just talking about like if like there's a bath scene and like her boobs are flopping everywhere or like obviously that's fan service.
Right. There was one scene recently that Sarah watches anime, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
I think it was like a clip though, and some girl turned and her tits flopped for 4 straight unbroken seconds, and it's like that shit doesn't happen in real life. I don't care what you fill those fuckers with.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily toxic masculinity. That's what most people would call the male gaze.
Yeah.
And you can usually tell when it's like it's how like sexual imagery is used that tends to be from a male point of view. So you can notice this, and you won't be able to unnotice it forever. I'm going to ruin your life. So anytime a woman is shown nude, and it's supposed to evoke a sexual response from somebody, it'll usually be like a close-up.
Yeah.
It'll dominate the screen. It'll be very obvious, or it'll be like a man talking or a woman talking or someone, and then just off screen, like in the background, there'll be titties or something. Like Dexter does this all the time in season 7 because there's a strip club in it. It fucking happens constantly. So that's like the male gaze. And then you'll also see that if there's male nudity in these, it's very far away and panned out and often played for a joke.
Yeah, I think one movie that I could say would be that would have a feminine gaze would be what was it called? The Death Race, the Death Race movie that used to have Jason Statham, not the first one, but the one where they replaced Jason Statham with that a male model. And every single movie that they had after that, they had a shower scene where the guy was just by himself and the camera was panning all around him, and people were like, the feminine gaze doesn't exist. I'm like, what is that scene? Is that for men? Like men to idolize this? Like he's not like super buff. He's like skinny ripped, and he's like showering by himself, showing his butt. And I'm like, really?
Looking at it, it's just a sex movie, right?
Yeah.
Like they're selling sex. Like the chick on the front, her tits are basically out.
Yeah.
So that's totally a thing. That's not to say it's different, but like if they showed his dick, it'd be from real far away. You know what I mean? So it's because we don't consider male torsos like nudity.
Yeah.
We do consider it sexual. I'm not gay, but like you gotta admire Ryan Reynolds when it happens. You know what I mean? So like this does happen, and so it doesn't mean every time nudity is shown there's a male gaze on it. Like what Kathy Bates took her clothes off about Schmidt. Actually, if I Google this might actually just show her titties. So, I shouldn't.
Oh, are you talking about that one episode where she? I think there was something where she like flashed somebody or something.
There's a Kathy Bates in a movie. Took her titties out. but it wasn't like a sexy thing. I mean, Kathy Bates, whether you think she's sexy or not, I don't think most people do, because she's an older woman, and we don't usually sexualize older women.
Yeah.
And she's bigger too. But it wasn't played. It wasn't played for anything other than to make the other character, Jack Nicholson, to make him uncomfortable, because they weren't attracted to each other. And she's like, I'm just getting naked and getting in the hot tub with you. So it was played as a joke, but it wasn't male gazy. It was just nudity, flat nudity. This happens a lot in some scenes of Orange is the New Black. They have just basic nudity that isn't male gazy as well.
Yeah, I think there was another one with Sarah Silverman. She had a shower scene with 3 other women, and they said they liked the scene because it was just like flat nudity for that one.
Yeah, and it's not to say that you can't show like a sexy woman being naked and engaging in maybe even intercourse or something on screen, and also like it's always male gazy. That's not always the case. It just really depends on how it's shown and kind of the intent, and also if it's pretty even-handed. Like if they show guy butt, it's close up and it's not played for a joke, or they just like they show a ball sack and balls. Like male gaze depictions of nude men are like usually pulled all the way out. Yeah, exactly. So like also love that Jake is like, Sarah watches anime and I've seen like 10 animes. Well, you've made me watch all of them with you. So
yeah, so
that's not true. I lied.
For me, I feel like the cultural difference is for Japanese, like when I was in Japan and stuff like that, nudity in like baths or spa is what could be considered flat nudity to them could be considered male gaze here, because it's like communal showers and things like that, to go into like a bathhouse or anything like that. That's considered unusual or odd, or like that's like an event for people to do that in the West. But in Japan, that's more of just a normal thing that people will do.
A thing about it too, though, is because like Japan specifically bans like depictions of genitals, right?
Yeah.
So they tend to hypersexualize things due to the repressive nature of the rest of the culture. So it gets, anime specifically gets pretty bad as far as like male gaze. But that's, to be fair, like I mean, anime is kind of, when it gets sexual, it's kind of for everybody in general anyways, but it does have a worse rap.
I'm gonna warn you, don't open your
Oh god, my friends are talking about me in the podcast. They're like,
nudity and like tough girl and stuff, so that if you open it, you'll get banned.
Oh, all right.
yeah. Oh, my friend got muted.
Which one?
Delamar.
In my chat?
Yeah, I think it was in your Twitch chat.
It's some guy called Ascended Apathy on Twitter.
Delamar got muted in chat?
Yeah. He was the guy that you thought was me, and then I think you moved him earlier. He was in your Discord.
Gotcha.
But yeah, for me, I think the main thing is for some shows where it's like, what was it? A new show just came out, and it's I think it's like Trapped in Another World, and I Still Need My Mother, or something like that. Or I'm living my fantasy, but I still need my mother. This guy is transported from the real world to an isekai world, and it's like, you know, the generic isekai thing. He's like the hero of time and space and everything. But his mom.
I don't watch anime. I have no idea what word that is, but I'm glad you explained it right after. So
yeah. So he comes in. And he's like, you think it's going to be like this male power fantasy, and it's going to be all badass. As he comes in, he gets the sword of legend as soon as he gets there. Then his mom shows up, and his mom is like, oh, honey, that's really cool that you got that special sword. Oh, can I try one? No, Mom, you can't touch that. And she pulls out 2 swords. And it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm just extra good. And, like, every battle, he needs his mom to help him. And, like, every girl he meets, his mom is like, what are your goals in life? What do you want with my son and stuff? And I think the worst part is like, when that show was first, like, showing, people were, like, saying, hey, this is more of, like, toxic masculinity, hey, the male gaze or whatever, or just another generic harem ripoff. Because they think it's just, like, a MILF show where he's gonna, like, try to sleep with his mom. mom, because there's a lot of shows where a dad grows up with his little daughter and he's taking care of her,
Jesus
and she
Christ.
grows up and then they get married, and people are like, whoa,
That's
hold
awful.
on, what happened there? But it's like, it's a lighthearted comedy where like there's a harem, but like the harem is more like these girls that like this dude, and his mom is like, yo, you need to be better for my son, or my son needs to like focus on saving the planet. He can't just be laying up with some hussy. It's something like, it's like that. And it just really is really frustrating when people go, oh, and say, hey, these shows are bad or wrong because they fulfill like a fetish or some type of fantasy, when if you watch like the first 2 or 3 episodes, you understand that this is a comedy, and and the mom and son
Sure, it
dynamic
could
is like a
be.
natural mother and son dynamic that like they actually fulfill and they thought about.
Someone in chat said he will actually fuck his mom later. The anime just hasn't gotten there yet. I mean, it can be both, right? It can be
Yeah.
both a comedy and male gazy or whatever. But like, and that's not to say that necessarily a thing is bad if it displays this kind of stuff. Like we used the example earlier before you jumped in. In Hot Rod, the bad guy in it is like just a toxic masculine person.
Yeah.
As his whole entire character are just tropes of dudes being assholes and due to their masculinity, and it's like, you know, this happens all the time. It just really depends on how it is, how it's written. You can usually tell if something's written by all women or all dudes based on how they play stuff, which is why it's usually probably best to have a mixed group in your writer room for anything. But yeah, I think there's people that take it too far when they're like, I don't know, like you've seen the people that are like, all the Avengers movies are trash because it's just male violence, power fantasy type stuff. It's like, yeah, I mean, it is definitely a power fantasy. It's a comic book character, but I mean, like, I think they treat things, especially in the last 10 years or so. I think they, or 5 years, sorry. I think they treat. I think they've been treating it pretty good. So I think they're doing a good job of making sure that the women aren't tropes, the men aren't tropes. Like everyone has like a real character behind them, and like, you know, if they are a certain way and it's a bad thing, that tends to be their like character challenge, and they kind of move forward. Every Thor movie has a female gaze moment. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and these are fine, right?
Yeah,
as long as we try to treat it even-handed, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I think, what do you think about the, what was it, Ghostbusters 2016, and how
That movie sucked dicks.
It was
that was an awful movie.
I
went
tried
to
to watch it. I tried to like it.
I went to it in theaters. The first like 30 minutes, I was like, okay, all right, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, and then it just got really, 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 really bad. So I've talked about this in the past. Ghostbusters is good because it's a comedy movie set in a horror universe.
Yeah.
And they like deal with actual horror things.
Yeah.
And they just like joke about it. Like the part of the joke is that they don't care as much as they really ought to, especially Bill. But this movie was just a comedy movie in a comedy universe, and that isn't funny. Like, it can be funny, but it usually isn't. Like, it just feels like National Lampoony, where it's just like, they don't feel like there's stakes, where in Ghostbusters people can die.
Yeah.
And
it feels
so,
like the
original
parody
one.
of Top Gun, but they didn't lean hard enough into the comedy. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I know what you Airplane, or not Top Gun, Hot Shot.
Yeah, something like that.
The one with Charlie Sheen?
Yeah.
Where he shoots a chicken arrow?
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like if they leaned more into it, if the fans wouldn't have liked it, but it would have been good on its own merits. I feel like the main issue was the marketing with it, because it was just like
maybe. I just think the movie sucked in general. Like after the marketing, I was like, maybe it's not that bad, and I went in and I was gonna give it a fair shake because I like Kristen Wiig. I like no, I can't remember the name of the people in it. Ghostbusters 2016 cast. I feel like I like pretty much everybody in it. I really liked Kate McKinnon. I don't really care for Leslie Jones. I never really thought she was funny.
I like some of her like earlier stuff, but she changed like her comedy style is a lot different now.
I like her on Saturday Night Live sometimes. I don't know. I feel like she goes too hard for the ha, I'm big and loud.
Yeah.
And that's not really my thing. Like, I'm kind of more. I don't know. Like I know that a lot of people say Kate McKinnon is like she's quirky in that movie, and they play every moment as a quirk, but it kind of works as like the Lady Egon, because that's kind of what Egon was as well. He was kind of tismy, and he kind of like was really analytical, and it was a little weird, and he didn't really
had
fit
like
in. That was
lots
kind
of
of the
little
joke.
quirks, yeah.
Right, and that was kind of the fun part. Kristen Wiig was just a blank slate, which is weird because have you seen Bridesmaids? That's a really great.
I've seen it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a good
and it has like
movie.
most of these people in it, and that's a really good one. Yeah, she's trying to be Chris Farley, but like a shitty one, I think.
Yeah,
and it's not like because she's big. I don't even think is she even that fat. She lost like a lot of weight, right? Like
yeah, she
it's not
lost
like
weight.
yeah, it's not even like ooh, I'm a fat chick, because like Melissa McCarthy started like doing that, which I think she's genuinely funny when she can be, but all films are bad. But like just Leslie Jones is like she thinks loud is a joke, and I don't think that's good. Shady Shroomy, I can't help you, bud. You're all on your own.
Yeah, I think another. Did you hear about the what's it called? We could shift to toxic gamers. Do you play video games at all, really?
Oh yeah. Which one?
So did you hear about the Oblitz like Epic Store whole debacle and everything with that?
Oblitz?
It's like OOBLETS. They announced that they were going to be an Epic Store timed exclusive.
Oblitz?
Yeah, something like that. It's like a weird, quirky name.
A life simulation game developed by Glumberland. I don't know what the threatened after Epic Game Store.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to watch a video. That was a whoops.
Alright, so the basic rundown is they announced that they were going Epic Store exclusive, and people got really upset about it because the game was on Patreon, and so I will give them credit that they, from what I've researched, they never outright stated that they weren't going to be an Epic exclusive or they were going to be on Steam. The thing is that they started on Patreon before the Epic Store existed, so people just assumed that it was going to be on Steam, it was going to be on GOG maybe, or the Discord store. But now since it's on the Epic Store as an exclusive, a lot of their fans can't purchase the game when it actually comes out because because it's region locked. Like, so it causes a lot of issues with a lot of people. And their original post, so I don't want to color your perception of it. But their original post is what I feel sparked most of the controversy for like all the people like sending them death threats, like, which is unacceptable. But like what actually started the whole situation was their PR move was to assume there was gonna be a backlash and just immediately like dig their heels in and be like, look guys, there's way more important stuff to be upset about. We're just gonna do this thing with the Epic Store. You might have heard of them. We're just gonna get a whole bunch of money. It's not our problem. Deal with it. And then they did like a flossing meme, and people are just like, yo, what the like, people are very upset about the whole situation, and I'm like, yo, are y'all for real? Because like when you read through the whole post, it's pretty bad. Like, it was real bad. It's like if they just came out and were like, hey guys, we need some money from the Epic deal to finish the game properly and to have it done in the quality that we want it. We're a small team and we're independent, and we need this support from Epic to get the game out that we want to get out.
Sure.
And if they just if they just made a statement like that, I feel like it would have been much better. And people are saying that's not true. However, there was a studio around the same time that did exactly that said, hey, we have a team of 6 people. With Epic exclusive, I know people are upset about that, but we wouldn't be able to finish the game in a timely manner or be able to make it into quality that we want it to be if we didn't take this deal. And people were perfectly fine and still supported the game, and there's no controversy. You don't even hear anybody talking about it.
So my take on this is, usually this happens, I don't know, a center-left guy, so you're probably not in this camp, but Mortal Kombat 11 went through a very similar thing.
Yeah.
When they wanted to move away from their male gaziness, and frankly they clothed the guys more too, but they kind of wanted to make things more realistic in their game. This is a little bit different because it's about who's publishing your title, but
yeah.
So usually it's air quotes free speech guys and gals. There usually are air quotes anti-SJW, air quotes anti-censorship, air quotes all those things, right?
Yeah.
So, and they're really, really fucking bad at exhibiting any belief in any of those things. For example, for Mortal Kombat 11, they're anti-censorship, right? This is the thing. They're like, oh, you're falling prey to SJW censorship, when there was no one calling for Mortal Kombat 11 to like clothe their ladies. There was something Mortal Kombat decided to do to sell more games, especially because the female gaming market tends to be a lot better than what was, in the past when Mortal Kombat came out, right? And so they're like, okay, we'll equally objectify people, and we'll make it look a little bit cooler instead of like unrealistic, because their games are getting to the point when they're like considered like they're not in like the Smash realm or the Street Fighter realm, but they are played competitively on world stages, and so Mortal Kombat is like a top-tier fighting game. It's one of the only AAA fighting games that run in 3D that people play competitively pretty often. So it's like, it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective for them to do this, and then these people are calling for the censorship of artists to change it back to something they like, and that's censorship. Just because you're revealing more in the art doesn't mean it's not censorship if you're like calling for them to change it or you're going to boycott it, right? I mean, this is no different. They're the SJWs here. So in my opinion, anyone that is like, I'm a free speech person, especially if they're a fuck, like, and I'm mostly socialist with like a little capitalist cherry on top, because I think it makes a lot of sense. Because I think a lot of people, like, it makes sense, like, if you're doing a shitty job to get paid more. Like if most of these free speech people are like Sargon fans or like undoomed people, and it's like, okay, so you're a capitalist, you're a free market capitalist. This is literally the free market.
Yeah.
Like, they're
I
working.
don't like
they're
Sargon personally.
Sargon's a bag of shit, but yeah, you shouldn't like him. He's shitty. But and I'm not saying you do this. I'm just saying, like, most people that I see doing this usually identify as centrist or right-leaning or center-right.
Yeah.
And they do the thing that they think they aren't doing, and they're like, it's the free market working. If you don't like it, like, I don't like the Epic Store. I have it on my computer. Do you have it on your computer?
I don't think I have it, because
Oh
the
man,
only
the
game I
fucking
played was
pop-ups.
Fortnite. Yeah.
Epic Store pop-ups, get the fuck out of my life! Oh my god, it starts on startup, and I gotta shut it off. I haven't yet. But yeah, it's shitty because there's a couple games on there. I think Subnautica's on there or
Yeah,
something.
Subnautica, and there's what was it? It's like Outer World. It's not Outer Worlds, the Blackout Studio game, but the other one, like
my buddy talked me into downloading
yeah.
Fortnite, and I didn't end up getting it, or end up ever actually playing it because I don't really care for it. But I need to debate Sargon. He's a pussy. He never would come on here.
He might.
Maybe now he will bait. Debated. But yeah, right, dude. Every time I fucking ask that guy, he's bailed out. I know Sargon a little bit. I'm in the realm. I don't know if you're. I've been in the YouTube game for quite some time, not just Twitch. Twitch is relatively new for me.
I used to watch Sargon growing up. So when Sargon first started, we baby rents was watching Sargon Akkad. And I was like, man, this guy makes pretty good arguments. And then, like, as time goes on, I'm like, hold on, this guy's kind of stupid.
Today I'm gonna watch a video where he says that white supremacy, or there's no white supremacy problem. It is a hoax. He's going to side with Tucker Carlson tonight, as if white supremacy doesn't exist in the United States, like an idiot, like a fucking five-head. Yeah. So hey, thank you, Labor Wave Dashing. No comment, chick, and marked. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the only thing I can say for the white supremacy thing is just, like, it's just, so I feel like it gets overblown to a degree, but there is still, like,
depends on what
racial,
you're talking about.
Yeah, so there's like a whole, like, we'd have to do a whole other debate about that for, like, it's just way too much shit to go into. But for what you were saying about the Mortal Kombat, for the censorship of the quote-unquote censorship of the giving the characters more clothes and making things more realistic, for me, for me personally, I like some of the redesigns, because I never liked the way Mortal Kombat characters look to begin with. So I was like in this weird position where I was just like, well, hey man, they should keep the titties because that would be good, but it kind of looked bad before. I'm not gonna lie.
It did look bad. Like I like titties as much as the next red-blooded straight white man American. Okay, I'm just saying. I don't need them when I'm cutting folks' heads off in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I like titties. I like a butt too. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm here for butts, but like, not a thing I need in a video game necessarily. Unless I want, like, I can buy that game.
Yeah.
If I want that game exists. It's not like they're any less sexy either, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not jacking off to Mortal Kombat. I don't know about your habits, but that's not in my repertoire.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
that wasn't ever going to be in my thing, so.
Yeah, my issue is when they said they were going for like a realism, I feel like they put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because I felt like the way
because like it's a mystical fighting game where you can like
rip
blow
people's
people
heads
up
off and stuff, and then they get right back up, and it'll be in the middle of the match. It just seems like an odd stance to take on like the redesigns and everything. I feel so there's like this extremes of like Angry Gamers and his like he has a website and everything, and he was talking about it. He did like 15 articles on it. And
wait, is that fucking chud that sits in front of his thing? Is he the guy that wears the hat and he's like a boomer?
No, he doesn't really do videos. He's a game journalist. His name is his name is Billy.
I don't think this is the same guy.
Yeah, so he has a YouTube channel, but he just posts game trailers for games that he's talking about and does interviews with and stuff like that. People say he's just Niche Gamer and him are the same, and I feel like that's unfair to Niche Gamer because Niche Gamer is a lot more.
I don't know these guys really. So.
Yeah, but yeah, they're game journalists. They just they type out all this stuff and stuff like that, and he was posting article after article about it. It was
Geeks and Gamers. Geeks and Gamers is the boomer.
Oh,
we don't like him.
Yeah.
He's a douchebag. Captain Curl and Tom Service, thanks, bud.
Yeah. So my main issue is, when they were like covering up the characters, the reasoning behind it just felt, not genuine in the way that they were presenting it to their fan base and everything, and their PR response to it. I think that's the main issue that they are having with this whole situation, and I feel I don't think it's really a censorship issue. I think it's more of a issue with I feel like it's more of a what is it called like a social it's not social censorship, but like social conditioning for their game and to their market and stuff like that. And I feel like with it changing,
so there's a little bit to do. Okay, so when a game comes out, it's because there are some sexy designs on here. Like Katana literally has a fucking tit window, right? We're not like away from it. I'm looking at it right now. I don't know if you had the stream open or anything, but like who's not a character I'm aware of has like your titties out and stuff. But like Frost has like a full suit of armor. Jackie Briggs has, they still have boob armor, but it's getting closer. I like this movie Shang Tsung. That's dope. Cassie Cage, who I assume is Luke Cage's daughter or something.
Yeah.
Is there. So when I look at this, what I see is a game that when it has, I think Sonya Blade is the one that got most covered up.
Yeah, she's like a military captain or something like that.
Yeah. I bet I see, and that even though she probably has skins, right? I don't know.
I think they might have released like one or two for her old style. Sonya Blade or something.
Might not show her skins. No, it doesn't. But when I look at this, I see a lot of practical designs, and I think part of it is because things like cosplaying are so goddamn important to making a game live a long time, and also just reaching out again to the type of people that like don't necessarily want like a softcore porn game. Johnny Cage also got
he wears a vest now. Oh yeah, wait, is Sonya Blade is played by Ronda Rousey?
Is it Sonya Blade?
It's her or her daughter.
Like her faces. Sonya Blade. Who's the other one?
Let me see here.
These are some are locked on the website. I don't know if one of those.
Ronda Rousey to voice Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat 11. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, so she's the voice. Okay.
Yeah.
But like I don't see any problems with these. I wouldn't have thought twice about it if like this came out and no one ever talked about it. I don't think it's like a big deal, I guess. And I don't know, like this chick looks a lot cooler than she would if they tried to make her sexy. She looks gross.
Yes.
Devora, like that's cool. I actually like that character design a lot. It's sort of weird. Katana still hottie.
Yeah. Another thing that was happening when you were talking about like the streaming with for Evo or any other gaming event. So so they were doing a lot of comparisons to Dead or Alive. So Dead or Alive had an advertisement that got pulled off of, I think, Twitch. Twitch was like playing some like stream, or they were doing like an advertisement, and he pulled it midway because it was like too scantily clad and stuff like that. And I feel like it was like really unfair towards Dead or Alive, especially like they had two women announcers and they're like playing around and doing stuff. And I feel like it's unfair for Twitch to do that when they have streamers that do that as part of
Twitch's TOS has been tightening up recently. I do agree that Twitch's TOS in general is not super great. They're a little inconsistent when it comes to things like what types of sexualization are okay. And this is just from someone who's dating a person who streams as well. People, like specifically women who don't want to show their tits, tend to not get the viewership, and they aren't taken as seriously on Twitch, which is pretty fucked up. So it's like on one hand, I'm absolutely fine with any amount of nudity Twitch wants to allow. I'm assuming they don't want porn, and they want to keep it so that they can have kids on the platform as well, because they make more money that way, which makes a fuckload of sense. So I understand why they wouldn't do that. And I'm also like in the camp that like I think there's such an incentive, and it's a shitty one for women on stream to show like as much skin as possible. It's an absolute lose-lose. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just the state of things. So
yeah, I try to support streamers that don't really show much skin, that are just like the type of streamer that I like, and I know this is really hard to support.
I'm pretty friendly
them.
with Kate. Is she not streaming right now? Kate Stark. She's a streamer who she's from Canada, and she streams all sorts of shit. I believe she's a CS:GO pro, or she mentioned it before. Anyway, yeah, I mean she's just, if anyone can see, she just wears normal clothes. She's good looking, but she's not that's not like what it's about. It's about like come here and hang out and spend a good time. I'm gonna be kick ass at some video games like that. That's like what I'm here for. That's and I don't know. I just feel like.
Yeah, I think the only female streamer that I've ever been like genuinely upset with was I think Zombie Unicorn. The Bully Hunters thing was like dumb, but I just kind of just forgot and ignored that. The main thing was she does body painting on stream, and which is perfectly fine. Other people do that as well. But the thing is, she will shame like people who they call booth babes and stuff like that. And like various other women who are doing other things, and she said,
so it seems like double standardy.
Yeah, and she said, and I used to make fun of breast boob streamers, but I don't do that anymore because I know it puts down women. And she'll say that on Twitter, and then turn around and insult booth babes, or insult women that might post or do things like that they don't like. Like Brittany Venti, she's like
Brittany Venti's a fucking weird.
Yeah, so but she'll like insult Brittany Venti for like being a boob streamer or doing stuff like that. And
I'm not
like,
for that.
Yeah,
like say what you will about Brittany Venti, and you should say all bad things about her chat, all bad, no good things. But and I mean she brought that on herself. But I don't care if she shows her tits. I haven't watched a Brittany Venti stream, but I'm assuming you're telling the truth when you say.
So she doesn't show it very often. So sometimes she has cleavage, or she wears I forgot the Virgin Slayer.
Yeah.
She wore that one, so she dressed up in like that kitty kitten head boob window shirt, stuff like that.
Sure, I don't know. I got into a little argument with somebody on the left, who's much further. Well, I don't know, even further left. She might be further right than me technically, but you've got to be familiar with Shoe on Head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you're familiar with Sargon, I imagine Shoe on Head. She said that Shoe on Head only gets views because she's pretty, and she like puts herself in her thumbnails to sexualize her thumbnails, and that's how she gets views and shit. And it's like, I don't always agree with Shoe on Head, but Jesus fucking Christ, man,
Yeah,
that is
yeah. Shu doesn't really sexualize herself in videos. She
no at
actively
all.
wears T-shirts in her videos.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, Shoe and I have gone back and forth a couple times, and I think we're pretty friendly right now, and that's fine. And she's been doing a good job on Twitter, and I think she's getting away from that the part of her I didn't really care for, which is playing the both sides thing when clearly one side is like being shitty. But Republicans specifically. But yeah, I mean, there's no part of her that I think is like grifty in that way. Like I don't think she sold herself as a sex object. Maybe if they sexualize her because of her relationship with Greg, Armored Skeptic, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like I know like in some videos like Armored Skeptic like makes jokes, but most of the time it's at his own expense, where it's like, get over here, woman, and sit down and get back in the kitchen, and then she like laughs at him and makes fun of him, and he's
I don't
like,
think anyone's taking
that
that seriously, but. Everything's sexy to someone, absolutely, but that doesn't mean that it's sexualized, right? Does that make sense? So it also doesn't mean it's like intentional. I really didn't like that. That was Christy Winters, for the people that don't know in chat. She's a bag of shit. I'm not a fan, but I mean, me and Greg have gone at it a few times. He doesn't like me. I definitely do not take Greg seriously, as you should. But
yeah, some videos are kind of bad. I forget, like he did use like Breitbart. He used like some Christianity televangelist
he made a video.
episode.
He made a video where he's like, "Yeah, I think Black Pigeon Speaks has good ideas." Like, okay.
I've never watched him, but he sounds bad, and
Black Pigeon
watched
Speaks
one video
is literally a fascist. So I mean, like not like in the way people are like, that guy's a Nazi. No, he's probably a Nazi. Like, he says all the right things. Like, are you familiar with Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, like one rung down the ladder of Nick Fuentes, only because Nick is on the same ladder and he can't get past them because it's a ladder.
Yeah.
And you don't pass on ladders. Yeah, he believes race realism. He's also a plagiarist. Yeah, all these things. He's a bad dude. So.
I think,
what do you center on?
I think like what I'm mainly centered on is probably I don't know if this really counts as centered, but the like the whole transgender kids movement and all that type of stuff. I feel like I'm more centered on. For me personally,
what do you mean when you mean when you say transgender kids? It's transgender, by the way, not transgendered.
Yeah, transgender. So
it's like calling you black.
Yeah.
And not the porn.
Yeah.
Hey, 7 chairs, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So the main thing would be like what people are talking about when they should start hormone treatment and things like that.
Okay, so most of the time, they take hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Which just prevents puberty, which isn't medically a big deal. Like doctors wouldn't do it if it wasn't a big deal. So.
I'm talking about like the estrogen patches and the pills. I know those are the two major options that most people choose.
So yeah. The pills are pretty magical. It's about, I think it's 1 or 2 a day. You can take some other stuff, but initially you just start taking estrogen. You let your body adjust to it, and then you start taking the other shit like hormone blockers and shit like that after. But for kids, they tend to take the hormone blockers to prevent puberty. But when you decide that like I'm going to transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be independently verified by a doctor and by a psychologist, and they have to come to the same determination because it's one thing to be trans, and like I don't think anyone's going to argue with someone if someone says, oh, they're trans. At least you shouldn't. If someone says they're trans, that's what they are. regardless of if they pass or not, in your opinion. But transitioning medically is definitely a big thing, and I totally get why they're action if you're like, oh, kids shouldn't like get like surgeries and shit, elective surgeries, specifically. Now, if you're I think that's hypocritical.
Yeah.
But so personally for me, if the parents give consent and if medical professionals give their okay on it, I think a teenager could definitely transition absolutely fine. There's lots of examples of this. I don't know how old is who is that fucking person that we saw on stream the other day, guys? Jazz Jennings. How old is
the one on TLC?
Jazz Jennings. Yeah, I just learned about this. I don't watch TV very often. She's 18 years. Did she just get the bottom surgery this year?
She just got the bottom surgery. She was
on most
blockers before.
Right. Yeah, most doctors aren't going to do it before they're 18 anyway, which I think is fine. I think as long as we're like, okay, you are trans and this is valid and we're going to go through the steps, and then when you turn 18 we can do this, because before that it's kind of unethical. I'm fine with that stance. I'm also fine with them doing it younger. I think I take bodily autonomy pretty far.
Yeah.
So I think like, for instance, I think if, I don't know, I like, death with dignity is a thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I think you should be able to take your own life whenever you want. I feel like there's the ultimate freedom is having bodily autonomy, and to be against bodily autonomy, like, I disagree with. Now, if you have some parents that are like raising their kid to be a certain thing, then I'm against it. Even if that's being like if, to be fair, straight people do this a lot. So you and I were probably raised like this. Oh, you're a boy, right? Yeah. I'm kind of against that at this point, because it's not as binary as we had assumed. Like, gender is not that static. Sometimes people flop back and forth. I'm not necessarily saying like, oh, use they them pronouns until they choose for themselves, because I don't feel like that's probably very useful.
Yeah,
right. I don't think it's unreasonable. Like, I think if the kid grows up and you're like, why do you say they them but everybody else says he him or she her? Like, I think having that conversation is fine, and if they choose to do something else, absolutely. But I don't think that, like, if someone has a penis, that means they're a boy, and I certainly don't think that if they have a penis, they ought to do boy things. Does that make sense? Like, when we were kids, and I used the example of the video game earlier, but I got yelled at for playing with one of my friends that was a girl that had Barbies. I was playing with a Barbie, and I got yelled at when I was like 4. Like that kind of shit. Like what if I just like fucking Barbies, dude? Like, what? What's wrong with that shit? Who cares? Who cares if I like pink? I don't really care for pink, but I do have purple hair right now. But I don't know, like shit like that. So as long as you're for bodily autonomy, if it makes you uncomfortable, that's one thing. But telling people they can't do it, that's when I draw the line.
Yeah, my main thing.
How do you feel? Am I crazy?
So I understand where you're coming from, and for the most part, I agree. The main thing for me,
and
like,
gender fluid people exist too, exactly.
Yeah. So, what is it? Where they had like cases where like like they're saying kids are being taken away. I don't know if that's like been verified or anything like that about like the parents like are splitting up and they're fighting for custody and they're trying to say, my kid's transgender, I want them to get the surgery and they're 8 years old or whatever. And it's just like a whole slew of stories like that. My main thing is like if we were going to like approve a law to like be put in place to allow people that are under 18 to start transitioning, start getting the hormone blockers and pills and stuff like that. If their parents are disagreeing, like their parents are like, my child isn't transgender, I don't see them as trans at all. I feel like if they're going, or if they have parents like that, where their parents are like, I'm not taking you to see the doctor. You were born exactly how you're supposed to be. I feel like for situations like that, there has to be like something for those children, but obviously they can't be like 12 and go down to like some clinic and like pocket their own money and try to get this done on their own, because it would be unethical without their parents' approval.
I think it does raise interesting ethical points, and like it is kind of weird, like on both extremes, right? If it's somebody that's like, my 6-year-old is trans and I want them to get surgery right now. I feel like that's way too soon. Specifically, for two reasons. The first reason I think is pretty obvious. They're 6 years old. They can't make big decisions.
Yeah.
The second is their body is still actively developing, and that's a really traumatic event. So personally, if that child is like, hey, I'm a girl, and they're 6 years old, but they have a penis, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm a girl. Say, okay, then I will respect that to the extent you want me to. And if you still feel that way, later, we can move towards it. And because kids are stupid, and it's like there's a difference between respecting a child for being who they are, regardless of how legitimate they are, and like jumping the gun, right? Like if my kid says, "Oh man, I like guns," like I'm not gonna hand him a gun, right? But I'm totally down for like teaching over time and like moving towards. I don't really have guns, but like that would be a thing I would try to do, like going to shooting and stuff, like
a firearm range and stuff.
Because I wouldn't want them, right? And I mean, guns is a little extreme because obviously they could blow their brains out, and I don't think being trans is even close to that. But like, I think puberty is probably a good marker, especially when real sexuality starts to hit. I think you have a pretty good grasp on who you are as a person. A pretty good grasp.
15
like obviously,
or 16
especially
would be a general point for that.
Drakewing's a little fired up, and I know why. Nobody gives 6-year-olds hormones or surgery. This is totally true.
Yeah.
This is absolutely true, and I hope I wasn't really saying they were, and I don't think you were either. I was just saying there are parents that advocate for it because they're so gung ho about like supporting their kid, which is absolutely great. But there's also people that do the same thing for like, vaccines and shit, and like I don't know. There is a developmental cost, and it sucks. Being trans can be sucky sometimes, especially if you have shitty parents. So having a super supportive parents is by no means a bad thing. But the sucky part about being trans is there will be a period in your life, most likely, when you don't. If you want to get, and not all trans people want to get bottom surgery, of course, or top surgery, or whatever, depending on which one they are. But if you do have dysphoria to an extent that you wanna change your genitals and stuff, or your primary sex organs, like if you want to get titties, or you want to get rid of them or whatever, there will be a period of time when you have stuff you don't like, and that sucks. And I don't know how to fix that without being unethical.
Yeah.
In a way that you just want to make sure it was super clear because of fear mongering. Yeah, totally get it. There was a lot of fear mongering. I think there's a lot of misinformation too.
Yeah, because a lot of those stories seem like way too extreme because it doesn't make sense. Like no doctor's gonna approve that, and even if one did, I highly doubt it would last. Like it wouldn't last. Like their clinic or their doctor or anything like that would say no.
There are doctors that won't take your fucking tonsils out.
Yeah.
So like. I had chronic tonsillitis growing up, and doctors wouldn't touch me because they wanted to make sure it was like bad enough to take my tonsils out, because tonsils are important.
Yeah.
And they provide
like white blood cells. So like
white blood cells and shit. Yeah. They're part of the lymph system, I believe.
Yeah, the lymph node system for your whole I think your whole it prevents like head colds and stuff like that, or can cause them if you're having like bad tonsillitis and stuff like that.
Right. Avug says, I think the trans surgery should be covered by insurance. It's so unfair to people that should be banked. I totally agree. I think, especially because it's been in the DSM since 1980. I think if you're trans,
removed now though.
In the DSM-5, no.
Yeah.
No. The wording changed.
Okay.
Dysphoria is still there.
Okay.
But. Yeah, no. I mean, it's a medical condition. It's been a medical condition for forever. It's been recognized by our
Oh, I see. The thing that changed was it's no longer transgender; it's just gender dysphoria. From what I'm reading.
Correct.
Okay.
They changed it to, and not all trans people have gender dysphoria, which is that gets into murky waters and it can get kind of confusing. So it's something that I'm not even going to speak on because I don't even really fully understand it. I really want to talk to Jake about trans stuff after this guy. Sounds good. But yeah, I mean, I just think I don't even get. See, I think what I think dysphoria is you're unhappy with your body, but you can be trans. You can identify as something that typically we would assume, like me, for instance, if I have my body and I'm not unhappy with it, but I also would like to show as a woman. Fucking word.
I think.
Why can't I think of the word?
Yeah, I think.
It's driving me nuts.
What was it? I'm trying to think.
Present. Thank you, Jesus. If I want to present as a woman, but I'm fine with my body how it is, I think that's transness in a way that doesn't have dysphoria. I think I got it. Did I get it, guys?
Yeah.
Did I get it? No, not pass. Not even pass. Just like present. Or affirm. Affirm is also fine. I was looking for the word present. Just like, is that what I'm talking about? Dysphoria is the opposite of euphoria. Yeah, of course. I'm just saying, like, gender dysmorphia? Hatred of your...
I thought dysmorphia
no,
was
it's
for,
gender
like, for anorexic and stuff like that.
So dysmorphia is about your body.
Yes.
But gender dysphoria is you don't like it's the opposite of euphoria. It being the gender you are presenting as or are assumed to be, like displaying as such, like me displaying as a man, when I'm not trans, but me displaying as a man would make me unhappy, and so I should display as a woman. That's dysphoria. Dysmorphia would be I don't like my body. So maybe this body is morphia, gender dysphoria. Yeah, I got it. Gender dysphoria is the pain/stress you feel as a result of the mismatch. You're right. But I'm trying to figure out how you could. Maybe I should shut up. No, you're good. I'm fine. Like it can get. Matt Mercer has body dysmorphia. I have a version of dysmorphia as well. So like it's not a thing I really bring up a lot, but yeah. Gender dysphoria makes a lot more sense if you explain body dysmorphia, to be honest. That's fine.
Yeah, so I'm looking it up. Body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, or body dysmorphia, is an anxiety disorder that causes sufferers to spend a lot of time worrying about their appearance or to have a distorted view of how they may look.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's pretty
they
much
can kind of go hand in hand, or you can have one without the other.
They often do, but yeah, it's not necessary. See, I don't think you're that centrist on it. I don't think you're that centrist. I don't think is there seriously a centrist thing? I feel like don't get me wrong, you've been a nice guy. I feel like maybe you did that for some street cred. Internet street cred.
No, I would have came in and said I'm a red-pilled motherfucker, just
That's
like my
fair.
main man. I guess maybe abortion. I feel like.
Are you against abortion, or are you personally against it? But
so I feel that I'm against abortion after a certain period of time, like beyond 4 to 5 months. I
think most people are, unless there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much you're left on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud.
I believe capitalism is good.
Totally good?
Mainly good.
Okay, so here's my economic thing, and I'll let you know, because maybe we don't disagree on a lot, bud.
Mm-hmm.
This could be an awakening. Maybe you're a fucking lefty and you didn't even know it. So, a dirty lefty.
Oh, God.
So, I know. I mean, it sounds like when you talk about it, it just sounds like you're just kind of there. My chat is really like, oh man, this guy's actually pretty okay. I kind of like this guy. So I mean, you're doing a good job. Hey Jake, let me look at this real quick. Hey Jake, you know a new progressive streamer, Central Committee, Mike from Pennsylvania, in his debates this week with Destiny. I mod for him and help with stuff. You want to talk with him sometime? I mean, yeah, I'll talk to whoever, dude. So here's what I think about economics. Like in what our model should be moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically in regards to like the fact that we're headed towards a situation where we're going to have not enough space to actually give jobs to laborers, right?
Yeah.
Because we're moving towards more automated systems. So here's my layout, and they've heard it a million times, but they have to listen to it again. Damn it. So I think that everyone should have a base standard of living, because we consider ourselves the greatest country in the world, specifically the United States, and if we that's what we think, then damn it, I came here for you to destroy chuds, not have a pleasant conversation. Well, maybe we can get angry. Who knows? This is what happened when I talked to Destiny too before he went to Tristany. So I think there should be a point in time, and this is what we should strive for. Not necessarily it should happen right this second today, but I think we should be moving towards this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the United States should be homeless unless they choose to be. So they should have access to shelter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking basic shelter,
Yeah.
right? So I'm talking like a single room with like a place to wash up, a place to go to the bathroom, so it can be sanitary, place to sleep where you're not worried about it, where you have like a key to the place so you don't have, crime isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
A place where you can have food. So I think everybody should have basic food. I think everyone should have water. And clean water. I think everyone should have basic access to internet, whether it's in those types of places, and even just like it doesn't have to be super high speeds. Like I don't need to be able to stream
Like 15
but
megabits for like
sure, but I need to be able
stuff.
I need to be able to interact with the world on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and I think everyone should have access to a basic phone that can serve that function.
Yeah.
After that, I think you're pretty good, and you can move up because one of the biggest problems we have are people worried about literally surviving day to day.
Yes.
But think of what you could do in college if you knew you were okay, and you could live in one of these places. Like maybe dorms should just be converted into a situation where you don't have to pay to be in the dorms.
Yeah.
And you have food, and you have like all of this, and you could go to college full fucking time. Because I had to work 50 hours a week and go to college and do YouTube and like all the things I do now. Like this was hard as fuck, and I guarantee people have had it harder than me. Like I got a buddy that's going to nursing school. He basically has to go down to 1 day a week to work so he can actually do this, and he's going to be broke as fuck the whole time for like 2 years. And it's like crazy. I have another buddy that's a doctor now, and he hasn't been able to have a real job in years, and he's in debt a ton because he had to like get extra loan money to eat during that time. So it's like. So I think everybody, and this is not just for college kids, this is for people down on their luck too. Like if you have a job and it goes south, you get fired or whatever,
issues, anything like that.
Right, and well, preferably medical issues. This is another part of my economic problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we should not be worried about survival. If you opt out and you want to go be homeless somewhere, fuck it, I don't care. Like that's your thing. I hope it works out for you. I don't think it's gonna be great, but maybe it can. I also think that everybody should have access to health care. Dental care and eye care, which apparently those two are separate from healthcare, but I tend to have to bring that up. I think everybody should have access to education, preferably to the bachelor degree, but I'll settle for associates.
Or journeyman's.
Well, journeyman's too. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be for a degree. Like it could be for like these types of certificate jobs, like HVAC and stuff like that. I absolutely think that's totally doable. Is there anything else specifically tied to my? Oh yeah, I think we should legalize the fuck out of drugs. Not necessarily like
fine.
Right, not necessarily like
DXM, maybe.
Well, so I'm not saying like here, let's hand meth over to someone over the counter, but like if I want, if I get a little overzealous, I gotta in the sack, I gotta go to behind the counter to get Plan B at Walmart. You know what I mean? So like maybe we could do a prescription for something if someone's addicted to an opiate, but we use that because we have free healthcare. Maybe you can only get that if you maybe you can only get that prescription in like what the European maybe Nordic countries call heroin hotels, where they're places you go to do something like a heroin, like a meth, something you're really, really addicted to, crack, and you go there, you are allowed to do the drug. You can go to work from this place, but you stay here during the day, and you have medical care, and they slowly wean you off and treat your addiction. They don't criminalize your addiction. I think this is super important, and I think anyone who's in jail at all for any nonviolent drug offenses needs to get out, and we need to unprivatize prisons. Plan B isn't over the counter anymore. I found that out recently. Did I share too much?
Yes.
I did find that out recently. That was actually surprising. But yeah. Walmart it still is.
Yeah.
Walmart still is. But I mean stuff like Sudafed though. I mean I can't make meth in my backyard because I can't buy a fuckload of Sudafed. So but like weed's legal in Michigan here. Like I can even pull it up on stream and show you guys. I can even take a little puff. because that actually went in weird. So probably should have actually taken a real drag on that. Yeah. So does any of that sound super unreasonable? Because I think if we did all that, I think via taxes, that makes everybody not have to pay for healthcare out of pocket. You don't have to pay for education out of pocket. It makes everybody smarter, more healthy, and if you have a safe, smart, and healthy populace, you have a more productive populace, we make more goddamn money.
Yeah, my main issue with what you said is like the housing one. That's the one
Not a
thing
fan?
that I disagree on. And so,
Why?
For like anybody that's like seen like the projects or government assisted living or
Yeah,
housing and things like that.
I live right next door to the projects. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, when you have to rely on the government for housing and stuff like that, things move very slowly.
I would
Hmm?
I would agree in a system that it's like in now,
Yeah,
where it's something that you still pay into and it's like wage adjusted.
yeah,
The problem with wage adjusted living, and I've lived in it before, is as your wages go up, so does your rent, so you don't actually make more money, right?
yeah,
So you get kind of stuck in these shitty places, and if you get stuck in these shitty places, poverty breeds crime.
yeah.
And if you have a lot of poverty,
You
you
got a
have
lot of
people
crime.
doing stuff. But if we legalize drugs, where are they going to go, right? Where are they going
Yeah.
to steal each other's shit they don't have?
Yeah,
So personally for me, I think it addresses itself, because all of these people go from a place where they had no hope because they can't go to college, right? People in the projects don't have money to go to college. They don't have necessarily, like, I mean, this is a problem. I don't know what your first name is, but there are studies that show people that have black sounding names
Yeah.
have a hard time getting jobs. And in the area I live in Saginaw, Michigan. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but like people like Draymond Green grew up here. You follow basketball?
Yeah, so for me,
No?
yeah, for certain areas and stuff like that, I feel like a lot of people, there would be a lot of like moving required and like a lot of people coming into like different states and areas to actually support that. And my idea is like a good economic system or or any type of system is how it functions when it's under stress. Like when the thing like the country is like down and out. Oh, will this system be sustainable and be able to like be fulfilled properly if the country is not in a great shape? I'm not saying like World War III is happening and it's like the post-apocalypse or anything like
right.
that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But the Great Depression happened, you know.
Yeah.
And we just had a recession that the only way to get out of it was to pump a fuckload of money into Wall Street.
Yeah.
And banks and shit. Like I feel like strict capitalism, and I mean, I don't really just feel like this. It's a fact that strict capitalism cares about profit so much it's willing to do unethical things for it.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to allow unethical things into your system becomes unethical. And like, I'm not a profit is theft guy. I think that's actually really stupid. But I do think that, like, for instance, do you have like a normal job?
Yeah, I fix computers basically.
Okay, so that's a little bit better. You probably, do you work for yourself or you got a boss?
I have a boss. I work for
Okay.
a major company.
Okay, sure. So you might have a little bit better working situation, but we've all worked in these shitty jobs before, where capitalism is cancerous. I would agree that just capitalism
I feel like
is
it's
cancerous.
mainly like unchecked capitalism with no
Right,
other,
and
like,
that's a lot of stuff.
balances in it.
That's how the right wants to run the capitalism, right? So, like, they don't want the free market because they think it's bad. Like, when the free market said, make us gay cakes, they were freaked the fuck out, you know what I'm saying? So, like, now, granted, I tended to agree with the reasoning behind the verdict from the Supreme Court, because making a cake is an artistic representation, and I think you should protect art and willing to, freedom of
expression and like
freedom of expression, but also freedom to work with certain people.
Yeah.
But the fact that they invoked the fact that they were gay and that's why they didn't make it, that's the part that you can't fucking do, because people used to do that to I mean, fuck. Now I feel like I'm tokenizing you, but people used to do that to black folks.
Yeah, minorities. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, specifically, so like in Georgia, after they got the Voting Rights Act and stuff passed, that was really, really bad. So stuff like that. But So we can't allow certain types of language, but the argument they made was sufficient for Supreme Court. It would have set a really poor precedent, so we need a different case. But yeah, I just don't think that unfettered capitalism is the answer. I don't think you're for that either. But like, that's why I can't vote Republican. That's one of the reasons, is because they think that, like, I mean, they're borderline libertarian, anarcho-capitalists when it comes to their policies, where they're just like, the free market will adjust. We should privatize prisons. We should privatize like clean water. We should like it's fucking awful. It's not a good thing. We shouldn't be privatizing things that have ethical concerns, specifically prisons.
Prisons mainly, because growing up, I had family that worked in the prison system, and the main issue with that is, like, my father did a lot of things, and one of the reasons why I dislike Antifa is because they actually were harassing my father, because he was in uniform and they thought he was a police officer. He is actually he works with children in prisons and stuff like that. And when that happened, and he went to school for psychology to also assist them with helping with working with kids and things like that, to help them. And a lot of those people, they grew up and, like, they're my friends. I know them. I know their families. They, like, invite my father and stuff like that. And he did a lot to help them. And, like, they just see him in uniform and they just go, oh, well, that uniform is bad. But that's a whole nother thing. But
Antifa, huh? Was there an event?
So they had like a rally or something, and it was in the Midwestern area. So when that happened,
Midwest, St. Louis?
No, not St. Louis.
Oh, okay. Oh, you just don't want to dox yourself?
Yeah.
All right. You're good.
So basically they were having. I don't think it was like a rally. I don't know what they were doing.
Antifa doesn't do rallies, so I assume there was a protest.
Yeah.
And there was probably like a Proud Boys thing or like a right-leaning thing going on.
Yeah,
usually
there was a right-leaning thing going on in the area. Yeah.
So usually it's a counter-protest. I'm not in Antifa, but. Not that anyone really is. It's not really Antifa's
like
weird.
A major group. It's not like a
right. They don't have a hub, so it's just like you go and you're a member of Antifa for the time you're in the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an adjective and a verb.
Yeah, and it's just really frustrating in situations like that where you see people trying to fix something, because like the prison system, to me, I feel like that should be all government, and they said, well, our government doesn't have enough money to support this, and we gotta privatize it. But the privatization of prisons make laws and stuff like that, how they support like areas and things like that don't have any real jobs in that surrounding area, or they're the only thing that is pumping money into this area. If they just suddenly deprivatize it and that prison, I don't know, becomes a bakery or something, that area loses a whole lot of money, and politicians don't want to risk that, so it causes like a whole slew of issues.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know, like, privatization makes people do fucked up stuff. Like, if I made money from incarcerating people, it would make me do fucked up shit. Like, I would try to make sure that I lobbied certain laws in my area where my prison is, to make sure that, like, I get more prisoners because they use them for labor. I mean, it's the closest thing we have to slavery today is the prison system.
Yeah.
So, like, as far as a governmentally supported system. So, yeah, it's Prison Architect makes me feel bad about having so much fun playing it. Yeah, but all those guys are actually bad guys, okay?
Yeah,
none of those guys are in for drug offenses. Yeah, so as far as the Antifa thing, I don't. Sometimes they go too far, but being anti-fascist is pretty easy.
Yeah, and for like the housing and stuff like that, I feel like it's just not sustainable in certain areas. I feel so for like some people, the best way to fix the situation, like if they're living in New York or like Seattle or like some major area where the cost of living is way too high, they have to like move. They have to move out to this area, and the government housing would have to support that. They can't be like, all right, we're coming in and we're just gonna put these duplexes down here. There isn't a place for that in that area, so they're gonna have to transplant all these people, and then all those people that gets transplanted, they have to find jobs in those areas. And I feel like
Well,
like
so
setting up that system and like getting it put into motion in our country, actually, I feel like there's a lot of issues with putting that in place
well,
for the housing.
I think it's one of the last things on the list that you check off the box, but I think we have to do it at the end.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a reasonable argument to be made to say here's why we allow homelessness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you eradicate homelessness? There's two ways. You make sure everybody has enough money to get a place by either doing a universal basic income, which I'm not against necessarily, especially when automation really, really hits hard, or making sure that you hike down rent prices really severely while also guaranteeing someone a job. Like, there's just no really way to do it unless you say, okay, here's a really basic home that you can have. It's not going to be a long time. Like, and I'm also for, like, for instance, if you're found to be stealing from the tenants there or whatever, you get fucking kicked out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with like having rules on whether you can live there or not. I don't think one of them should be whether you're addicted to drugs or not. I don't think one of them should be if you have a job or not. And I don't think one of them should be if you're looking for a job or not.
Yeah.
I don't think like a family of 4, like, I don't think you should be trying to live there long term necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are good small places, but in my head. But I'm also not willing to say it's okay if that family of 4 is on the streets. So it's kind of like finding what's the answer to each of these. I do think, though, you need to do all the other stuff on that list before you get to housing, just because it's just the easiest stuff to do. And once you have those buttress the type of system we would have, where you could be like, okay, now we're going to address homelessness.
Yeah.
How many homeless people in the United States? Homeless people, U.S. Let's see.
Yeah, homeless. So there's double the homes than there are homeless people. I think they were saying.
I would absolutely be fine if if there's 500,000 homeless people. That's according to census. I would imagine it's probably higher since it's an estimate.
Yeah.
But since there's so many homes available and the banks own them, I would absolutely also be fine with, like, okay, so we could fit 1, 2, 3 families in this big ass house that's unaccounted for. We'll use this as government housing for a little bit, and as these people move in, we'll get them on their feet, and we'll make sure that they can have a place. And it's not going to be great. They're going to have to share it, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to give anyone luxuries for free.
Yeah.
This isn't what I'm trying to do, because I think that would be a situation where we would actually have what like Republicans like to call, like, welfare queens. Like, it does happen, but usually this situation with welfare queens, air quotes, is usually... I talked about this with a guy I debated like a few days ago. People who take advantage of welfare are incentivized to do so, because if they get a job, they will make less money immediately.
Yeah, my friend has that situation where she gets
Yeah, and instead of it just being, like, inverse, like, if you don't have a job, you make this much money, and as you have a job, you just make that much less money off of welfare until you don't need it anymore. They just take it the fuck away, and they pigeonhole these people, and it'd be like, okay, well, now you're part of the state. You can't get out of this unless you want to suffer. Usually there's, like, a month period of time where they have no money at all.
Yeah.
And that's not fucking safe or ethical. Like, it's just not the case. It's a really broken fucking system. And so I think this is a way you address that, because if you do that, you don't need all these welfare programs. Like, you don't necessarily need food stamps. And if you make over a certain amount of money, you're just not issued these things, right? Yeah. So, like, you wouldn't be eligible on this if you within the last week you got paid X amount of dollars, right? But, like, I think this would definitely help people go to school more. It would help people be healthier when they... You know, and there's so many situations for homelessness, too. Like, a lot of vets come back. You said you're a veteran, right?
Yeah.
You know, you probably have friends that are homeless right now.
Yeah, I've had some friends that are homeless, and a lot of the issue is a lot of government programs for veterans when they get out. So they teach us about it in the so we have a 2-week span where they call TAPS, and they teach us about, like, what benefits we can get and what we could do. And after taps and like after you meet each speaker and you take their cards and stuff like that and you like put them down as your for your resumes and they teach you how to make a proper resume and all that. And the main issue is like for me, hey, I had a family to go back to. There's some people that don't have a family to go back to, or like for me, hey, I have have support from the government because of the situation I was in while I was in the military. I did an extra year, and there was also like a whole bunch of like stuff that they messed up while I was processing through, so I had a lot more support when I was actually leaving.
Sure. Yeah, and I also think it's bullshit that like the skills you learn over there, wherever you're at and whatever you're doing, like there's a lot of
over.
Right. You don't get like a certificate of like, oh, you like maybe the guys that work on the trucks or whatever and like are mechanics, like they don't get things that say they can be fucking certified mechanics in the States. There's lots of situations like that. Engineers and shit. Like there's some people that go to school for that kind of thing and have the degree as well, like the rocket guys or whatever. But
yeah,
like,
you can get certain certifications, or you can translate them directly over. The main issue is they don't really provide you with enough. So like I'm going to college right now, and I go down there. I'm like, hey, I'm going to college for a thing. I went through the military, and they're just like, none of your stuff carries over. Did you go to college while in the military? Nope, I worked 18 hours a day. And it's like I start from scratch. I'm a freshman now. Well, I guess a sophomore because I start at pre-calc because I mathed good.
Like, can I ask what the reason is you went to the military?
So when I originally joined, I was wanting to go directly from high school to college. And when I was like looking up like all the pricing and all that, I originally wanted to be a lawyer, and becoming a lawyer. Yeah, so there's like almost like 10 years or 15 depending on like what I'm trying to do, and that's like a lot of money and a lot of schooling in a very long time. And I didn't want to like be like in super debt, because even if I had stick with the lawyer plan, I would still be in debt even with the GI Bill and everything, because it's just too long of a schooling to be supported with our current system, unless I get like grants for every subsequent year after that. So I decided to join so I could get my schooling for free and get free training. While I joined the military, I ended up getting force converted and having a bunch of issues with my enlistment. Because of my father's immigrant status. So basically I was like going through just fine for like a year and a half, and then they like fucked me, and I just got completely screwed over. So there was like a whole slew of issues.
Right. And so this is what I thought you would say to some extent. We use the military as a fucking jobs program, and I think it's gross.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be like, it shouldn't be. And I don't know. Did you see action? Did you actually like go overseas anywhere and like have to fight or?
So like all my stuff, I was on submarine. So like for my situation, I didn't like have combat. I didn't like carry an AR into the battlefield.
Sure,
so my situation is a bit different from most people. Yeah.
Because a lot of people like go into it, need a job, and they tend to be. You sound a little bit more smarter, so I'm assuming they probably noticed that and put you in a place that you can be used best. But there's a lot of people I went to high school with specifically that, not the brightest dudes, and were used basically as like infantry, and just like some of them died and shit, and it's like they did that so they could go to college because there was no other option for them.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up. Like, it shouldn't be, hey, learn how to kill people so you can better your life. Like, people come back fucked up from that shit. It's not easy to do that job. Like, that's a hard fucking job. Yeah. There's a reason the Republicans suck y'all's dicks all the time, because it's not easy.
But they won't give us our benefits properly. Sweet Jesus, during the government shutdown, oh God. Oh dear God.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, right? So like while I may not just like blankly thank you for your service on Memorial Day and like not suck your dong on Independence Day, like I want you to have your fucking benefits. I think you'd pick that one. So like also like thanking you for your service feels shitty. I don't know. Like I had some military friends, again, like I said.
For me personally, I don't mind if people don't. It's just kind of like whatever to me personally.
A lot of people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
and I get it. Like, I think I don't know. I
It's
feel
just
like
awkward to
the
me.
Vietnam vets, the ones that wear the hats in like the diner, I feel
Yeah.
like those are the only people that actually fucking want that shit. And I don't even know if those guys are actually veterans. You could have got that shit at Goodwill. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you this. I don't want to be the one to break it to you. You're a fucking lefty, dude.
It's like,
You're not a center. Like,
It's like,
I think.
I could find something that's right
Nah, dude.
that I disagree with.
Nah, I just think you're fucking. I just think you're a lefty for the most part. Like, don't vote for a Republican.
I haven't ever. I did vote for
Good.
the Green Party once, and when I say Green Party, it's like the weed
Was it
party.
Jill Stein or?
No, it was like the oh my god. So in my
Oh, in
area,
local
they had-
elections, I vote for Green Party sometimes. Yeah,
yeah, they
absolutely.
had the 420 party for my area.
Fuck yeah!
And I was like,
Fuck yeah.
dear God. And like everyone voted for them, and they were
Yeah.
like processing it through, and they got kicked because they didn't even run their campaign properly or something. Like they just got completely removed. I'm like, are y'all for real? The
So
one
it was
time
the
we all
420
got
party
together.
or the Green Party?
It was like something wheat related as their party name. It was like 420 Green Party, something like
Jesus
that.
Christ.
And they got a shitload of votes. Like so many people voted for them. And they're like legalization now was their slogan. And that was all they did. They was just like, we're gonna legalize marijuana the moment we get elected.
Yeah. Yeah. You said you're in the Midwest or something. We have
Yeah.
weed in Michigan if you ever need a little top off. I think it's illegal to take over the lines, but just like eat the brownie and drive back. I don't know. I got your real results back. I'm sorry to say you got leftism in your lower back. Yep, that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you're a leftist.
I
I'm not a
have voted
leftist.
Democrat all my life, but it's just like people
Yeah.
tell me I'm centrist a lot, so I don't know. Maybe it's just the company that I keep.
What I think probably it is you say things that sound centrist before we talk them out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought a couple times you got me. I thought you were a center guy, but nope. Turns out you're just a dirty lefty. That's good though. I like that. That's fine. I think that's fine. Like I thought it would have been fine if you were center too, but I think it's nice that you. A lot of people that say they're center, once I start talking, they just start trying to screech. And you just sat here and you're like, okay, you consider my shit, and you're like, well, but I disagree here and there. I think that's reasonable as fuck, and I think that you should do more of that with everybody that you can. Rebus and Mo Money Better Problems got here. Probably true. Hey, centrist libertarian who wants to debate, how do I get on? Sorry, libertarian? The guy that owns the internet in the area that you're at, he's actually decided to cut service off from you.
Oh God.
I'm fucking with you. But I own the water, so you can have my water.
Yeah, so
I'm strawmanning the fuck out of this guy. I'm so sorry. I was just joking. That's
for me personally with ISPs, I think that was probably the main thing that I hated the most about like the whole net neutrality thing, because there was a lot of people that were like centered or right leaning going like the left is saying this and this, and they just don't want the Obama administrator policy rolled back. And I was like, one, net neutrality was put in place by George W. Bush. You have to give him his credit. He was the one that started it, so it wasn't Obama. It just got finished enacting, like Obama like put it into effect. Like it was already written and already started. It was already in motion. So when that got made and everything, people were like, "Oh, Obama trying to do this." I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then what they were trying to do is like they're trying to make internet be considered a utility, which it should be. Because that's exactly how it works currently. And people are going like, Verizon hasn't done anything. There is over 100 things that Verizon has done that is illegal, that people have found illegal, they have lost in court multiple times.
Verizon's trash.
What was it? AT&T. What was that one? It's like the Orange X-Man that merged with AT&T. I think they had like a bunch of stuff. There was
Singular. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think it's Singular. And it was so many issues, like so many times for almost like for decades, and people were like, net neutrality only existed for a year and nothing changed. I was like, nothing changed because it was enacted for a year. And another thing is like they've been doing terrible things for decades, like 2 decades, 2 actual decades they've been doing these things. And all these issues have been arising. It's just like, I've never heard this problem. It's because you never noticed it. When your BitTorrent stopped running, you didn't go, oh, Comcast must be throttling my stuff. No normal person thought about that. Someone found out about it, and it was like one dude. He's I think he's Asian. His first name is Alex, I think. And basically what he did was he wrote every time Verizon and Comcast slighted him, and he like wrote this massive document and sent it to the FTC, and the FTC used this document to basically throw the book at Verizon Xfinity. And when that happened, they were like, well, the FTC is overstepping their boundaries. There's no law saying we can't do this. And that's how net neutrality got put in motion.
Yeah.
And it is real bad. And the main thing is like the ISPs, the way they work currently is that it hinders capitalism. So the way that it hinders capitalism is they like section off areas and stuff like that, and you might have a couple local ones like I don't know, like Center Air or something in your local area that does it. And they'll have their thing, and you'll have like Oceans, and they have their own little area, but they don't actually compete, because if you move across the street, you can only have Xfinity. You move down the block, you can only have AT&T's shitty like in-home service, or you move somewhere else and you get the local, and like they're not actually competing. Everything's sectioned off. And they're like, well, we have to put new cables down if we want to compete. We can't share cables. And if they were actually considered a utility, they would actually be able to use the same cables. And they're like, well, what about this corporation? They put all these cables down. Okay, have the government pay them to use their fucking cables. There you go. Now they're done. Now everyone gets to use the cables. Or I'm going to run on public.
I'm going to run on public fiber optic internet and win the 2024 election, just so you guys know.
Yeah. That would probably be great.
That would be great. Think of that jobs program too, dude.
Yeah, like Google Fiber. If Google Fiber actually was like widespread and they didn't run into any issues, imagine like all the jobs of all the people like maintaining all the Google Fiber wires being put in the ground, coming out to your home to like make sure your Google Fiber is working properly, the customer service positions for Google Fiber, and all those things, all the jobs and all that being created. But people don't want to fix the ISP situation. What Google, with all their money, can't compete in that. Like, the only thing worse would be if Amazon or Microsoft tried to make their own cable program and they got snuffed out by Comcast. That's how bad the situation is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's shitty. God, I wish we could have internet as a regular... I totally agree. It does sound like a commie thing, though. Of course it does. But it should be a public utility. So fuck it. In
some areas, what was it? I think Alabama has internet as a public utility after net neutrality got removed, which is kind of hilarious to think about. just bum fuck nowhere. You have free internet. It's just like, yeah, out in the cow pasture, we got that Wi-Fi code. We're now one of them pigs, yo, man.
The Wi-Fi code is 30 to 50 wild hogs.
Yes.
2024 4K Pornhub and YouTube for... Oh, man. No, I should run on that. Hey, everybody's going to get 4K Pornhub and YouTube by the time 8K is real. You'll have the address... You'll have to address the dick jokes and the chick tracks during your campaign. Of course. Obviously. Anyway, hey, this has been a good fucking talk, dude. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm glad that I've made you a dirty leftist. You are much more left than you thought you were, and if you think of something else, you can come on back and talk to me anytime. I know you followed, so you'll be around when I go up live, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you want to show up whenever,
all right.
Happy to have you around. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem. You have a nice day.
You too.
All right, see you.
Later.
In my vans, knick-knack, paddywhack, give your dog a bone. I be sliding on your bitch while you chillin' at home.